Good morning, class. Today I'm going to cover on chapter 8 database administration and security. Okay, so these are the objective. This chapter I divided into three parts. So we'll cover like part 1, one video, part 2, one video, and part 3 will be one video. Okay, to shorten the video, so I just divide the slides into three different sections. Okay, so part 1, what is data and database administration? Data administration is a high level function that is responsible for the overall management of data resources in an organization, including maintaining corporate-wide definitions and standards. So data is basically about data administration is basically about data. Okay, database is the place where we store the data, right? So it's a technical function that is responsible for physical database design and for dealing with technical issues such as security enforcement, database performance and backup and recovery. So this administration people is the one who will deal with the security issue, database performance, whether we can query the data fast or slow, how to improve the performance of a database, backup data and recovery if the data was lost. So all are dealt by this administration side. The functions of data administration, functions or role. Set data policies and procedure standards. So data policies are statements of goal of data administration. So it's actually a statement. Example, all user must have a password and password must change every 6 months. So this is like a statement of policy. Data procedures are written instructions describing the steps to perform certain activities. For example, backup and recovery procedures, how to do the backup and recovery procedures when it's come to when there is an issues lah. Next, data standards are rules to be followed when performing database activities. For example, a password must have minimum 8 characters. IC numbers, names, birth dates cannot be used as a password, and these characters can be, should include with capital letter, small letter, a special symbol, something like that. So they will give you all the standards and rules. Number 2, develop information architecture. So the second function of data administration is they develop the information architecture. So administrator must understand the data and information needed for organization and able to lead development of the information architecture to meet the diverse needs for the organization. Third is resolve data conflict. Databases are shared and involve data from several departments. We know that database is a shared one. Generally, database is a shared one. So in order to, they try to avoid or solve. Okay, they try to solve any conflicts or any issues involving different departments when they claim the ownership of the same data. Next is managing the data repository. A data repository is the data storage used by DBMS to store data generated by application program. Application program is like the DBMS application. So where you have an application or system that you can key in or do work about the data, and the data will be stored behind the screen, which is inside a database. Example of ineffective data administration that leads to poor data quality. Yes, I have mentioned about data quality issue last time. I hope you remember or recall back your fundamental to data science subject. So multiple data definitions of the same data element in separate databases can cause data integration problem, because why they say there's no integrity. They will conclude that there will be no integrity. Why they say no integrity? Because you have the same data elements or definitions in multiple databases. Okay, that will be cause a redundancy. Missing key data elements can eliminate the value of existing data. Okay, missing of key records, inappropriate data sources and timing can reduce the data reliability. the trust on the data. Okay, the trust on the data, we might lose this. Poor query response time and excessive database downtime. Okay, so when there is an ineffective data administration, when they didn't admin properly, they didn't take care about the performance and everything. Okay, this is what I mentioned just now. It's related to the performance of a database. When you run a query, if it takes, okay, when you run a query, for example, like normal SQL standard queries, usually it won't take about maybe 10 milliseconds. But when you run PL SQL is actually a procedural language SQL, okay, which means that it will be a kind of script that you have to run. Sometimes the script consists of about 100 lines of codes, the queries, okay. But how to improvise the query timing is depends on how we do the query, do the scripting, right? At the same time, okay, data administration also need to be responsible for this time. So lack of access to data due to damage, sabotage, or stolen data files or due to hardware failures, okay, we might have a lack of data access. Next, we have unauthorized access to data that can cause embarrassment to the organization, which means that people can steal, okay, your data. The one is data administration. Now I'll come to database administration. Generally, they will analyze and design the database, selecting DBMS and related software tools, which is useful for database administration. Next, installing and upgrading the DBMS, because we might have a different versions. Tuning database performance. Okay, this one also is very, very important. So the function of administration is tuning database performance. They have to tune the performance of the database. If the database is considered very slow, the time is exceed the predicted time or the expected time, they have to do something on tuning the database, either parameters, or they ask the programmers to find out what is the issue. If you learn about advanced database, sure you will know about tuning database performance, but since you guys are learning about basic database, you won't know what is improving database query processing performance. This is what I mentioned just now. So managing data security, privacy, and integrity. Okay, integrity is about the foreign key, primary keys, okay, all kind of keys, and performing data backup and recovery. So these are the functions of database administration. Data warehouse administration. The significant growth in data warehousing has caused new role called data warehouse administrator. And you know what is data warehouse, right? Data warehouse is a place where you store data about data. So manage a lot of data. So a lot of multiple databases in a place, in a single place. So similar to DA and DBA roles, the role of DWA emphasizes the integration and coordination of metadata. Okay, I mentioned about metadata and the data across many data sources, because usually data warehouse is a place. Warehouse is gudang, right? As you know. So it's a place where you can store different, many types of data from different sources. Okay, their specific roles are build and manage decision support application, manage data warehouse growth, and develop service level agreements with suppliers and consumers of data for data warehouse. Open source database management. So this is an alternative to proprietary packages such as Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, Microsoft Access. MySQL is an example of open source DBMS. DBMS is a platform where you can use MySQL. It's less expensive than the proprietary packages. MySQL is also similar, I say similar, to Oracle. Only thing is the syntax, for example, create table. Okay, we have create table, insert record. Okay, all these are almost similar, the syntax. Only there will be some minor differences, very, very minor differences. So that is difference between normal open source database and the normal databases. Okay, so that's all about part 1. We'll continue with part 2 later. Thank you.